The streamer awards are my Super Bowl, bro. I block off my year.
That's your Roman Empire, bro. That's your Roman Empire.
Yeah. You had your day mapped down to the minute when you were watching that shit.
Yeah, this guy was literally popping in and out of a VC we were in while I was getting like the Soul Reaver record, this first sub-hour run.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Save it for the podcast. Stop talking.
Stop. Quit your friendlies.
Friendlies end in 5 minutes. Everybody on a tournament setup needs to get off now.
Last stock wins. That's always
I was so guilty of that shit at tournaments. Like, I'd be playing a set with somebody on a tournament setup, and they'd be like, all right, last call for casuals. And I'd turn to the other person and be like, we're finishing this shit, right? And they'd be like, yeah. Like,
Oh, boy.
it's fine.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We have all unpacked that Cosmic is a terrible person that will not get off of stream setups. My name is Nestani.
Wow. I am Jaxler.
And I'm a terrible person. That took forever to introduce myself. My name is DECosmic.
And my name is Coley, and I have one curtain back there that is not getting fixed. For you video listeners, that's going to stay like that the whole episode. That one curtain's messed up. That's going to bug you now.
And then you're gonna have the lighthouse showing up in Coley's background, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's just hop right into it. I know someone's chomping at, well, maybe two people are chomping at the bit to talk about this Itchio stuff or Itchito, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know anything about what we're talking about, so y'all gonna have to break this shit down.
Itchito?
Yeah.
Isn't that the protagonist from Bleach?
It's Itchio. Yeah, not Ichito.
Oh.
That's some weeb
Ichigo.
shit.
I think is
That's some weeb shit that, frankly, I can't stand for.
Damn.
Fair enough.
Fuck the
pretty
weebs.
There you go.
Yeah, eat shit about it. So
Continue.
Itchio. So this is kind of like it's already been resolved at this point, but it was just a really funny thing that happened where, so for those who don't know what Itchio is a digital like storefront that for like indie and self-published games and stuff like that.
Yep.
So like it's like it's kind of like the Newgrounds of today, except like
Accurate, yeah, I'd say.
kind of like it treats its creators pretty well, and it's like a place where anyone can kind of like self-publish their art. It's not just video games, it could be like web novels, web comics, all sorts of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so Itch.io was taken off the internet a couple of days ago because, and it all comes back to Funko Pops, dude. So freaking
We're rounding back to episode 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Man,
they got taken down by the Funko brand, and the way in which this happened is very bizarre. I'm gonna try to pull up the exact post from Itch.io real quick, but the long and the short of it is, I found it. Okay, I'm actually just gonna read this to you quote for quote.
Bar
From
bar.
Itch.io 1 day ago, I kid you not, Itch.io has been taken down by Funko of quote-unquote Funko Pop because they use some trash AI-powered brand protection software called Brand Shield that created some bogus phishing report to our registrar, which is like where they have their domain, who ignored our response and just disabled the domain. So Funko Pop is using like this like brand protection nonsense that's like AI driven or whatever, and just got like one of the like if not the most important platforms for like indie games, indie art period, just gone. Now some of that is probably on the registrar of the domain as well, but it's just like what the fuck? Like that's my whole reaction to this thing. It's like, what the fuck? And it's like I already kind of didn't fuck with Funko to begin with because those things creep me out. And like, it's just like creating all this plastic that isn't really doing shit.
And they're glowing
but like
in the dark during sex,
Yeah, it's really bad, dude.
I gotta show you mine that glows in the dark.
Oh my god!
It's the green ghost. I had to get it, man.
Oh
That
my
shit's
god!
awesome. The eyes glow and stuff.
The Phantom Shadow.
Yeah, that's apparently the name of the thing. I don't really have that many though. But my friend though, we've already talked about him.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by this at all because I feel like Funko just likes doing weird stuff they like doing really weird stuff with like AI and NFTs and stuff. Just like their fans, they do weird stuff. But
they do a lot of weird stuff, I would say.
Like they just have a lot of weird business practices. I'm not really surprised. Like one of the worst things I think they've ever done is to like there was this
Funko
like
Pops.
Well, yeah. But
yeah, that's
but
true.
they have this like NFT thing where it's like it might as well it's like Pokemon trading cards, but it's Funko Pop, but you need a certain amount of digital NFT cards to get the Funko Pop that you want.
What?
Yeah.
So you buy really booster packs. You buy NFT booster packs for a set price, and then you basically gamble whether or not you're gonna get the Funko Pops you want or not.
Oh, so it's like what are those things called? They're
it's
like
a crypto loot box. That is insanity.
Yeah, it's like with the crypto layer, but it's like Pokemon trading cards, right? Where you're just like opening packs, or it's like I forget what these figurines are called. They're like, oh my god, I'm blanking.
I don't know.
You like unbox them and you basically like buy a box and you have a chance of getting like a figurine, and it's like, and they're all like themed, and I forget what it's called. It's over.
Yeah, this one's themed too. They had like they've had Scooby before, and they've had like a bunch of other
Pop Mart
shit, but
it's like Pop Marts.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I haven't either, but
I have because Quarter Jade opens them all the fucking time on her stream, and and I watch it.
You really do pick top tiers, huh?
I do. Yeah. Actually, I don't. And in terms of Twitch streaming, I really don't pick the top tiers to watch. I pick like the mid tiers, the mid top tiers,
Yeah.
I would say
low tiers like us.
Yeah, that's where I live. I feel like once you reach the 20,000 viewer mark and up, I'm probably just not gonna fuck with you, because you're just probably being very loud. And
that's the meta, though, man.
I'm all right.
Is loud equals funny? I hate it, but it's just
it is kind of insane. I can bullet on this for a second, but is that basically the Itchio thing or Itch?
Pretty much. I think I was mostly just gonna say how annoyed I am of just like this fucking AI like crypto shit, just like making just having splash damage, but like like that's like we could bring that up about any other freaking
and it's one of those things where like itch.io has kind of a proven record of like making games like helping games succeed. Like it's not like this is a website where a bunch of games that get like 10 to 15 plays go. Like Superhot started on this site,
Celeste,
for example. Yeah, Celeste as well. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's making people's jobs harder than they need to be.
Yeah, it's almost like it's not as big as SoundCloud, but it's like kind of like the SoundCloud effect of like indie.
Yeah, or Bandcamp,
the
Bandcamp of video game development. Yeah,
so it's just annoying, but it got resolved, which is good. But it was just
fortunately
it was just like Twilight Zone type of shit.
It'll probably happen again to different party members.
Yeah, fuck Funko. All my homies hate Funko. Yeah, I don't care if that fucking kills a sponsorship.
Yeah, for us. Actually, I care. Me personally, I care. I love Funko Pops.
Yeah, I want a sponsorship.
If you give me money, I'll put them up and back. I don't give a fuck. Put them right there.
If you make a Funko Pop with me, I will hit it with a baseball bat, because that would be good content. But Nestani, you were going to launch on something.
Well, I'm actually going to shift because we brought up AI, and I was DMing Cole about this earlier, and so this will be a very fun conversation to have.
Oh boy!
So I don't know, I don't know how much you all watch MKBHD, but he basically uploaded a video about Open AI, who are the creators of ChatGPT, and they have created something called Sora, which is basically video, like AI generated videos, right?
Yeah.
So like on like all the new like iPhones and whatever, Apple Intelligence, it's all like you could create fucking photos. Yippee-ki-yay. Shittiest feature of all time. Who the fuck cares? Anyway, besides the point, but now it has gotten to the point where, again, OpenAI has developed Sora, which generates videos, and I believe it's like out now. I believe that it's open to the masses like now, or it's going to be out to the masses in like a couple days, which some of the stuff that it can replicate or I guess not replicate, but some of the things it can create is like kind of insane. like some of it is like pretty funny. Like Mark has uploaded in part of his video, he like had a still image of him and a kangaroo. He said, have the kangaroo jump over me, and then it just did not succeed at all. But it's just kind of crazy though that it can still make a still image move and animate it at all, and that I don't love.
I can't imagine how much computing power that takes.
Yeah,
Probably
and
a lot.
apparently you can just use it. Like there's no like you pay for
like
it
on your phone.
Yeah,
Like,
and they do the rendering, they do everything like server side.
just it's server side, so it's not client side on your piece of hardware.
No, so like you send it off to them and then you download the thing. So they're doing all the compute. You're not doing any of the computing, right? Which means that it's a lot more intensive on them, which is why it's kind of surprising that it's a free tool. I didn't even think about that, but I guess we can talk about that later maybe. But yeah. And basically you can, it really excels in things like landscapes. If you say create like a fucking like this landscape with like a golf course and a house, you have it. Right, like you could be like, give me a drone shot of this, and it will give you a drone shot of that. And if you're not like super duper paying attention, like you probably wouldn't even recognize that it's AI generated. At the beginning of the video, he literally went through examples of like, is this AI generated or not? I got a lot of them wrong because I was just like, I don't know, I can't tell, and that's it's kind of
not good.
Nightmare fuel,
a little bit,
and I mean, I forget what triggered me to say it. Go ahead.
I think one of the things that just bothers me about this and other like generative like tools like this, it's just the fucking computing costs and like impact this shit has on like power grid and shit. Because it's like, especially in the States, like we don't have fucking nuclear where we can like afford to waste energy like that without it like having a significant environmental impact. So it's like, it's like I don't want to like poo-poo like interesting technological advancements, but it's also I do too. Well, I mean as a general rule of thumb, but like in this instance, I don't fuck with this kind of generative shit because it's in service of like trying to take humanity out of shit that I think we should keep humans in the loop for. But like that being said, it's just like for one image in like one like language learning model or something like that, that's a lot less compared to like whatever is making like and rendering video. That's like
a whole ass building, probably whole ass building filled with servers using up like probably half the city's power grid.
And then all the computer parts that they need for shit like this is going to impact other parts of the world, like what we see going on in the Congo right now, where it's just like there's a shitload of exploitation because of like natural resources there, and it just feels like can we work on like solutions for like problems that matter instead of trying to automate people out of jobs? It's like, really? It's just,
what a novel concept. Wow.
I know.
Crazy.
It's like,
yep.
It's just sometimes like the inertia of the human condition really gets under my skin sometimes. And it's just,
and it's very strange to me too, because like, I mean, I work in a pretty like rural county at this point. And I mean, even when I worked in like city counties, people in general don't seem really on board with this idea of like machine learning. I mean, not even like, just older people, like people in their 40s, right? There are people that are younger than that are kind of like, this seems kind of weird. I mean, especially when it comes to things like customer service. I've had customers pretty much straight up refuse to like engage with our like the AI system that we have for like the financial institution.
It sucks.
Yeah, because it's not.
You want
good.
human connection, right?
Yeah, I mean, even little stuff that's actually more efficient, like automated systems to perform basic functions, right? So at a financial institution, obviously one of the most common things that people will do is check the balance of their account, right? And there are automated systems on like phone systems to check those things, but people refuse to even really engage with that beyond sort of a basic level. There are people that also refuse to do online banking, right? And so when you sort of
there's
take
a
a lot
security
of
component to that too, to be fair. But
there is a security component, but I can tell you probably most of the things that people experience with problems with security is their own fault.
Yep.
yeah, it's social engineering.
Yeah,
Right.
social
but it's like-
engineering, it's a lot of stuff. And like every time somebody tells me, "Oh, these hackers are getting smarter," I'm like,
Are they, or are you
I'm
getting
sure
dumber?
I'm sure that people like, because obviously with debit cards, right, there are layers of security that have been added to debit cards to combat, how much better, hacking has gotten essentially. But I think it's also to combat, like you said, Nestani, how much dumber in some regards consumers are getting. But people generally don't really seem on board with a lot of this like stuff that's getting pushed. Like people don't really like the idea of coming into a place and not having like a cashier to like ring up their stuff. Like I do not want to talk to people when I go into a grocery store, and I love self-checkout despite it feeling like I'm employed at retail part-time again when I do it.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather do that than like feel like I'm bothering the cashier with my fucking 6 microwave meals that I buy a week or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a thing where like
lunch,
when you're in the store at the self-checkout, like there's still employees around, right?
That's
They're still
true. Yeah,
watching
there's
your
still
ass
somebody
while you're doing the self-checkout.
Yeah.
Like, so.
and they're also there to help. I mean, like I buy energy drinks or whatever, and some of them were like a new SKU in the store, so they didn't ring up correctly. So one of the employees came over and I explained to her like, hey, I usually just buy 4 packs of these, so I just scanned a duplicate of this and it's the same price. And she was like, okay, so you're good. And then just like that was it. You know, she just cleared that it was like good, nothing crazy was happening. And then I bought my stuff and left. But I think like generally speaking, people don't really seem on board with it. So it's really weird like that this stuff kind of keeps getting pushed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's even like the NFT thing, right? Like that stuff has died off for the most part because
Thank God.
Yeah.
and I don't think that it's mostly like, let's say like, a leftist or a radical position for people to be like, oh, I don't really like this weird NFT, like online only image stuff. It's very hard for the general public to understand that, oh yeah, this is the same image, but I own the identifier to this image or whatever. And it's like, most people don't give a shit about that.
No.
Like they see the cool art and then they're like, oh, I want to buy this art or whatever. Like,
and put it
I
up
don't
on
want to
wall or
buy the
something,
fucking file for this art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how many grandparents are going to be like, oh, yeah, let me get an NFT of my granddaughter's prom picture? No, they want the physical fucking image to carry around in their wallet and be like, oh, this is my granddaughter. I'm so proud of her. Or oh, this is my granddaughter. I remember when she had her life together. Yeah, I remember when she had her life together. Whatever they want to say, right? But like,
I think that's the biggest thing
very
for
strange.
me is this whole giant AI push, right? And it really just feels like a push specifically for investors. And for me, it's like, I get it. You're trying to get money, like whatever. But like when the general public mostly is like, we don't really fuck with this, that is what perplexes me, why it's getting pushed so much so far. And for me specifically, I don't fuck with it because it's just taking the creativity out of the creative field. I think there's certain parts of AI that are like really cool, like even basic stuff like the remove background function in Photoshop. That's technically AI or machine learning, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's the same
whatever
shit.
you want to call it. Yeah.
There are AI features that are decent. There's like AI features for audio that like cleans up the audio and removes like background noise and stuff like that. There are tools, right? There are tools to aid the creative aspect of it.
Yeah.
But where I have a big problem with these AI tools is where it breaches like the creative part of it, right? Which is generating shit. Like
let's say music too, right?
Yeah, but like general for like video making, right? Like you go you film the thing, right? And then you do it. Now, like the whole idea that I think why it's getting pushed so hard is people are like, oh, we're making creativity more accessible for people. That's probably what they're thinking, because it's just like, hey,
because software engineers are not creative people. I'm gonna say it.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, bro.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm getting there.
Go for it. I'll let you cook. I'll let you cook.
Yeah, but it's just a thing of just like, oh, like their front basically is like, oh, this is like, we're making it so accessible because guess what? You don't need to go buy a drone and go to this specific location to get a drone shot. You can just beep, boop, 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 type that shit in Hackerman's, and then wow, you get your drone shot that you want to put in your video. Oh, it's so cool. Wow, you could generate your beat. Part of the point of being a creative is going and doing that. That's part of the process, right? Part of the process is that, hey man, maybe you just don't have money to get a drone, right? But there are other alternatives. There are literally like not an ad, but there's an Insta360 cam that fucking Jerry Rig Everything was sponsored by, but you can put a 360 degree camera on a fucking pole, raise that bitch up in the air, and it acts like a drone shot, right? So there's ways around it, right? There's always a way to do whatever you want to do. You just have to be creative enough and willing enough to put that into action, right? And this whole thing is basically just like, to me, stripping out the soul of the creative when you're talking about generating like these photos, the B-roll. It's just like I get it. It's like, oh wow, you could just do it, but like it just sits so wrong with me. And again, I think another big reason that the people that are pushing this are what Jaxler referred to before, are people that have no creative bone ever. Because at the end of the day, being a creative and being in creative field is really hard to do. You have to have a specific eye. You have to train that eye, right? And a lot of people do not want to put in the effort to do that, right? They just want to get the reward without doing the effort, which is just like tale as old as time, preaching to the choir.
Yeah, it's the Steve Jobs effect if people want to be seen as that visionary. But if, the other thing too, and this is, it's interesting, like sometimes in some dynamics, I'm not trying to paint the broadest strokes, but sometimes I find that
I'm not trying to the way that
the way that like software engineers view other like fields in interdisciplinary stuff, like especially games, is like kind of whack. Like they don't really they don't value what producers do. They don't really value what artists do. They very don't value what QA does as well. And it's like you end up with the way that, advancement works in a lot of these types of companies is that you have people who are really good at their job in something like programming, and the way that they, get a better salary or something like that is by moving into leadership. And so then they take those attitudes and those perspectives into leadership. And then, like, that's where we get shit like this, right? And so, I don't know. This is all going back kind of to why I don't really fucking fuck with working in the games industry or software as a whole, because it's just like, I don't want to, because part of it is I do a little bit of everything, right? So it's like I can code, but it's like I can art a little bit, I can design, I can think critically with my brain, which apparently is rare. Sometimes. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the vote of inconfidence.
We're going to anyway, Cole. Do you have it?
Well,
I think that's the bigger thing that makes sort of AI more of like an argument for people is the hardness factor. Like I don't even think it's a thing about just like, I guess I'll use video taking for an example because that was just the example brought up. But, the techniques and used for like subtle techniques or whatever for filmmaking, I think it's also just like basic fundamentals people just don't want to learn. Like when Nestani and I talked about this on our own, I brought up the example of drawing, and I learned how to draw about a month ago now. And I learned in a week because I got a book and I sat down and I just spent like as much time as I could just going through the book, practicing a lot, failing a lot, because that's how you learn. And then eventually now, even though I'm definitely not the best at it, but like
he's better than all of us combined, most likely.
And it's just about putting in that effort. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And honestly, I mean, drawing takes a while to learn. Like I kind of speedran that shit, but
because I'm a goat.
Dude, that's what I tell people. I mean,
different, by the way.
I mean, you brought it. That's what I tell people about speedrunning. Is it's like the only difference between me and you is the amount of hours that I've put in. Now, not every field is going to be like that, where it's like you put in more hours, you're going to be better. Just period.
Yeah. It's also like,
it's like
there's always the talent factor too on top of that.
Right.
Not to steal Cosmic Thunder because I know that he wanted to say that line, but I just wanted to take it from him.
What was my line?
That like talent over just like raw hours and just like, you know.
Well, I mean,
you bring it up a lot. That's why. Yeah.
Hard work only beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was stealing from you. I just can't say it like that because.
And wanting to put in hard work is a talent. That's the other thing too. True. Is like I feel like one of the things with like learning something and getting good at it, as Cole was talking about, is like sometimes I feel like people don't do it because it's like cringe. It might be cringe to be bad at something, or like that level of vulnerability to try something new and know that you're not going to be good at it. You're going to mess up and you're going to make mistakes. And like that kind of ties back to what we've been talking about past couple episodes, where it's just like people don't want to be vulnerable. People don't want to like, you know, put themselves in a compromising position like that, and it like stunts their growth and development. And I mean, look at our fucking generation right now. It's like one of the most, you know.
I mean, in terms too of generational stuff, I mean, a lot of these software engineers, I'm sure, are kids that were told when they were growing up, like, oh, why are you going to be an artist? You need to do something that will pay the bills.
Make money.
That's
a good point.
That will make money, you know. So a lot of that creative bone that they could have had in their body has been stamped out at an early age. And now they've only come to value results as a learned thing instead of valuing the process, you know. I mean, this is also probably why the advent of online shopping happened too. But going into a store is usually like, you know, the more rewarding thing too.
Yeah.
Like having a story behind something. I love going into a retro
store way more than I like just looking on eBay, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I even get like retro games off of eBay is just convenience mostly, but like I can actually give stories about some of the games back there. And, you know, that's always a little bit more rewarding to talk about. But again, these people in tech that are sort of like, and
I love ordering stuff.
To go back to
I can't relate on this one, dog.
to go back. No, you're fine. No, I understand. But like to go back to the Steve Jobs example, Jobs at least like this is one of the only things that I really give him is that he at least had like a creative eye for like marketing, right? He always like approached that with some sort of level of like you have to have standards for your product, and your client has to make like the product has to make a client feel a certain way, like they're getting something like really valuable. And like I don't think this guy, I think that the reason that like tech is so stagnant and now anyway in terms of like marketing, in terms of creative visions, is because there's a guy like Steve Jobs that's not around anymore, who was just on sort of a different like not like level, but he was on a different wavelength than a lot of these people that are just a lot less inspired than he was. And again, he's not a good person, but he was definitely more inspired than sort of like the fucking shovelware minimalist garbage that we see now. So
yeah, I think also to kind of piggyback off that, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, because I think part of the reason we're seeing the big push from AI is because there's nothing really happening in tech.
Yeah, there's not visionaries really like that.
Yeah,
I don't even necessarily think it's visionaries. I think we've just kind of reached almost the limit of basic computing, like zeros and ones, right? They're like, if we want to have like another like thing that pops up, we probably have to do something other than zeros and ones, because you can only make that shit fly so fast, right?
Yeah.
And because like the pattern of like, if we talk about investment as well, the pattern of investment is like, oh, here's the cool new thing.
Yep.
Invest in this before it goes nuclear. And now we're starting to run out of things that are like
that go nuclear, right? It's just like we have incremental change over time, which isn't as flashy or like cool, or like it's not as sexy looking, right? It's like, hey, the iPhone 16 is probably roughly the same as the iPhone 13.
Yeah.
Like overall, like the specs, probably not that different. Like S24 versus like S21, S20, like you're probably not even breaking that much ground besides like very incremental things like, oh, you have 120 hertz now. Oh, you have like a 4K display. Like, oh, you have better battery efficiency. Like all these things, cool for people that care about them, but to like the regular people, they're like, for example, I don't really care about phones that much. My phone, which is up there as my light, is an S10 Plus from 6 years ago, about to be 7 years ago. Like,
yeah,
there's no reason for me to upgrade. Like, my phone is basically as good as the newest phones right now. Like, the only reason I would upgrade if I wanted a better camera on my shit, right? That's really what you're buying at this point with phones.
Better camera, better battery.
Yeah.
Or
just,
a new battery,
or just
rather.
a refreshed battery without having to take a heat gun to the back of your phone and replace your battery like I did. Like,
yeah.
The next time we hang out at
Or if
GDQ, I'm be like,
you're- or
yo,
if you're
bring
in
the
the-
heat gun.
bring
Or
the
if you're
heat
in-
gun is crazy. I mean, it's right there.
That's fire. That's like,
Literally, because it's heat, yeah.
it's literally heat, but it's just like now I'm thinking of just like rolling up with like the hot glue gun strap on the belt, and it's just like, and it's just like slowly melting, and I'm just like, hey, is there an outlet anywhere? I just have like it's just like a portable battery or some shit.
Yeah, I forgot where I was going with my sentence,
God.
but yeah, I don't know. I just really don't like generative video specifically. I think
Yeah, that's
generating photos,
very
like
strange.
whatever, like like it's towing the line for me because it's just like, But like videos is kind of where I draw because it can just be used for so much more nefarious purposes.
So many bad
than
things, yeah.
photos can, right? Like you could Photoshop like President Obama like with a gun, right?
Yeah.
Shooting someone. Like everyone's gonna know that that's kind of fake, but like if you have a video of it, some people aren't gonna know that videos can be generated, especially now because it's not AI is not the
And
most
people don't
popular
have
thing.
critical thinking.
Yeah,
because-
You know what the
and
funniest-
also they're
wait.
getting so
Oh my
hold on.
God.
The videos are getting so good that it's hard to tell what is AI generated. Like literally, like I implore everyone to go watch the Marquez Brownlee video. At the very beginning of the video, he does the back-to-back example of this is an AI generated video, this is not, and he has you guess which one is AI generated. I got some of them wrong, right? Because if you don't pause, like you have to pause the video to look at it and see if it's AI generated. If you're just watching it, most of the time your brain's not going to pick it up, right?
Because your brain like fills in the between frames, because that's what it does in moving images.
Yeah. Like the only thing that really goes off is like depth perception. Like if instead of my hand like going through, like my hand just teleported through my mic, right? And I just went straight through it. Your brain's going to pick up on that. But like if that doesn't happen in the video, like you could generate a lot more things. Like you could generate people killing people. You can generate deepfake porn, which is a huge issue. Like you could, there's so much bad in there, and that's why I really don't fuck with it. All for these people that aren't fucking creative at all to be like, oh, I can fucking do this thing. I make this video. Wow, look at this video I made. Like, kill yourself. Like, I don't know. Like, suck a dick. Do something else with your life. Like, get it. Like, this isn't for you. I think gatekeeping is fine in certain aspects, and I think we should gatekeep creativity. Like, no, you're just not creative. You're just not.
I agree.
And
And if you're not creative, stay
that's
out.
okay.
That's okay. There's other things for you to do, right? Not everyone's creative. I'm not very creative. I try my damnedest to be creative, but I'm not very good at it. You know what I mean? But I'm good at trying. I'm not good at being creative, right? I would say that like Cole is good at both. He's good at trying and being creative. But like, you know, it's just like sometimes you're just like not good at something, and you can get better at that thing like over time, but like sometimes you just will never have that like natural instinct, right?
And let's say you do develop that, like it's still good to have other creative people working on your shit.
Yep.
Because if it's just you doing the whole thing, you have less total ideas.
You get the
and,
thumbnails
like,
that we had
inspiration.
from episode 11 through episode 13.
Look, man, I didn't think they were that bad at first, and then there was the there was the
me and
thumbnail
Cole
of
started
you
working.
holding up five.
Yeah.
Well, then there was the thumbnail
That
of
was
you
good.
holding up 5 fingers with the ring next to you. And I was like, well, we've hit rock bottom. We need to we need to get Cole
in my
on
defense,
this.
I told you all that we should meet up for thumbnails, and no one did. So I just made the thumbnails, right?
Yeah.
Until
That's fair.
me and Cole
Yeah.
started actually doing the shit, right? And now they look good.
Yeah.
Mainly because of Cole.
No,
I'm
they
just
do
there
look
to be
good.
like, I don't like that. You should change that. Like, that's all I do.
Can you get Cosmic or Jax to take a picture of themselves? Thanks.
Yeah. Well, and then when we have Jax take the picture, we're like, all right, please, man, let's just get something quick, because he's not gonna put in the effort.
I hate taking pictures of myself, dude.
He does.
I mean,
I
yeah.
hate looking at myself.
I get
It's
it.
like
I get it, man.
it's just.
I got dressed up.
That's true. You put on a suit for Octopussy.
I did. Yeah.
awesome.
I always put on a suit for the Octopussy. You know
It's
what
like that
it
one
is.
meme of like me showing up for my grandma's funeral, then me showing up for Octopussy, and it's like he's in pajamas for the funeral, but in the
Yeah.
suit for Octopussy.
Hell yeah.
What did you want to say, Cole?
Oh God.
I wanted to say two things. I guess it's kind of backtracking it a little bit, but it's about telling if something is real or AI. I thought the funniest thing about the whole Marcus Brownlee video and like showing the AI footage is that like there's a watermark on the footage. Do you see it? And it's the tiniest fucking watermark of chat, like the thing
So
I've ever
easily cropped out.
seen. It is just this tiny little animated thing at the very bottom right corner of the
Like
screen.
imagine
And it's
a
like
waveform,
a
right, guys? Like an
thing-
audio
it is
waveform.
like-
If you imagine an
yeah.
audio waveform, now imagine it
my
at like
God.
20% transparency, really tiny, thin, like black on the bottom right hand corner of a video.
Holy shit.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So like literally, if you just put a black
honestly-
box behind it, it would disappear.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's kind of like they knew what they were doing a little bit.
For sure. They were like, hey,
Probably,
crop this
yeah.
out so no one
Like,
knows it's
come
AI
on.
generated, because that's the whole point, right? Like if you
Yeah.
AI generated stuff, you're gonna
Oh
get
my
flamed for it
God.
online if people know that it's AI generated.
And this is not even talking about the whole. This shit is all trained on like data from other
real
people's shit.
ass people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's already work that is like plagiarized. So it's like,
Yeah.
but we already all kind of know that.
Yeah,
so
the
it's
legal
just like
ramifications gonna
Yeah.
be
these
crazy,
are all
but-
just kind of like cherries on top of this shit sundae at this point, where it's just
Yeah.
like
Because Marcus talked about that too, because he literally entered into Sora AI, hey, generate me a tech review video about like a phone, right? And so it generated the video, and then he didn't put, and then it generated a plant in the tech reviewer video that it generated, right? He didn't say anything about the plant. And then at the end of the video, he pulls out the plant that they used for the AI generated, because they clearly trained on his videos, like obviously, because if you enter tech reviewer, Marcus Brownlee is going to pop up, and they just yoinked a prop from one of his videos. And I was just like, cool. Yeah,
That's crazy.
crazy.
That's fine.
But yeah,
That's
the other
awful.
thing I
Maybe
wanted to mention.
they'll yoink him speeding at 96 miles an hour next. Anyway, continue.
Oh my God, that's the second time you brought it up on this.
I did not know about this.
It's just so
Yeah.
dumb that people care this much about it.
Yeah, maybe
Anyway,
they'll
so I
yoink
just- I
his
just
like
have to-
really expensive wallpaper app or whatever.
Yeah, they'll yoink the panels wallpaper app.
That's funny. But the other thing, I kind of want to disagree with you guys for a sec here. Because
Oh, here
here's
we
the thing
go.
is that
I'm
I
gonna
think
agree with me.
Brace yourselves.
I think if people
I think the Wii remote's really
if-
good.
I think the Wii remote is one of the best. No,
I will throw
do,
my Wii
but
remote
not
at
right
you.
now.
I have it somewhere in here.
That's fine.
So-
I'd be like, look at this beautiful object that just hit my forehead.
Look
like,
at this
holy cow.
graph.
Yeah.
So not to cut you off, but
Anyway.
totally cut you off.
Oh, okay, we're back. Cosmic and Cole
kidding.
going at it again.
The fight continues. The Cold War between Cosmic and Coley.
the unstoppable
There's a lot
force
of
and the immovable object.
Anyway,
The
I'm
Cold
sorry.
War.
So, but here's the thing: is that if you want to create some sort of change, you gotta get the other side to know where you're coming from instead of just berating them all the time, which might seem like crazy or
No,
silly.
this is Twitter.
But
I'm doing it.
well, I mean, and you can do that. That's totally fine. But to any, I don't know why the fuck you software developer at Apple would be like, look at this ETNA pipe. Let me check it out. I don't know why you'd be doing that.
Hey, we got 50
But-
viewers. That could be one of 50.
That's true. That's true.
True.
And you can be one of 50 that comment
I
down
think-
below.
Okay. So here's the thing where I'm disagreeing with these guys. I think anybody can be creative, because my definition of creative, I think, is not what is stereotypically like creative. Like, I feel like when you hear the word creative, you think of like like an artist or a writer or whatever, or graphic designer and things like that. But I personally think that creativity can come in any kind of form, even in something related to as boring as STEM. No offense, STEM people, but
Full offense.
like, to put it into the perspective, like, I see coding as how the coders see drawing. Like, I think drawing, I understand drawing now. I can like visualize things like perspective and lighting and things like that. But when I look at a line of code, I'm like, what's up with all these letters and parentheses and all this junk?
I think I track what you're saying.
Yeah, but then if you flip it, then all these people are like, how come when I draw on a piece of paper, it's not like Da Vinci, like, or Donatello or whatever?
Da Vinci!
Da Vinci. But anyway, the point is that like, you got to see what perspective you're coming at through here. And I really do truly believe that just because, if this is the reason why you're doing, or anybody's doing this AI stuff, is because you want that creative shortcut, I think you need to take a look and see what your own capabilities are. Just because you can't do certain things that are stereotypically creative, I think that there's still a lot of creative things people can do. And I think talent is a bunch of bullshit as well. Like, I think that people have like certain things that they can pick up on faster or slower than others. Like, I picked up on writing really quick, but then when I saw the Pythagorean theorem, I was like, why are we putting letters? Yeah. I was like, why are we putting letters in math? I thought that was a numbers thing only. Now you're telling me there's letters in this shit. But I still think that even though you can't pick things up as fast, you can still learn. And there comes a point where if you learn for long enough and you put in the time, which we've already stated, a lot of people don't like doing. I don't like putting in the time sometimes, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
And also part of it is time is a luxury as well, right? Some people just like would rather use their time for other things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But that's my stance on it.
I will say two things on top of that. I want to clarify something to start, is that I don't think there is inherently no creativity in terms of programming, because creative problem solving exists, creative implementation, or even just creative things that you make with programming as a tool exist, right? On top of that, these same types of people are also very much trying to automate the creativity out of programming as well. The amount of people who try to use ChatGPT as a programming co-pilot and like have it do the code for them is insane. It's stupid and it's fucked up. And it's like, I think the issue is like, I was making fun of my own profession for a bit when I was bringing that up originally. What we're getting at more, I think, is a certain type of fundamentally uncurious type of person who isn't interested in engaging with new ideas and the world around them and themselves authentically. And like, that's a trend I see in not just them, but a lot of people. But that's like a whole thing that would need to be unpacked. But it's like, we could unpack that if we wanted to.
Because it's not like, that no one can be creative. It's just that like some people aren't willing to put in the effort to be creative. Anyone can be creative. Right. Anyone can do anything they feel like putting their mind to if they decide to also back that with hard work, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't want to do the hard work. And in my opinion, if you're not willing to do the hard work for whatever thing you want to do, you don't actually want to do the thing, and you probably should just move on to something else, right? Like, if you cannot convince yourself to do that, do you want to do it? Or do you just want the satisfaction from doing the thing, right? Because you have to like the process, right? Of anything that you do ever, you have to like the process. You like, a lot of times, like, I mean, just speaking for me, like, I don't even get like a dopamine hit when anything does good ever, like view count wise. I just don't give a shit. Like, if I think the thing's funny, the view count pretty much doesn't even hit my radar. Like our most viewed short is the Spotify short. I made that in like 30 minutes and I was like, whatever, another short. I just need to upload some.
Yeah, and
Right?
you hear all those stories of artists like being like, "Oh, my hit song we made in like 30 seconds in the studio." You know, that's happened
It's very
a lot.
common, right? And it's just like you have to like, you know, whatever. I basically said I'm talking to myself in circles. You just have to like the process, and if you like the process, you can be creative. But I think the intrinsic problem with these people that are using this tool are the people that just want the shortcut and they don't care, right? I'm not speaking to the broad people at large because, again, I think at large most people are against this, right?
Yeah.
Most people understand that respect, and I don't know if it's going to die off though, right? Because for me, I have the opinion. I was mentioning this to Cole while I dog on this AI stuff. I will be learning how to use it because ultimately I might have to use it for my job at some point, right? It might seep into that. And I'm like, I need to stay on top of it because it's part of my field, right? So I have to learn about it. I have to know about it. I have to be able to use it in case I have to, right? And I don't think it's going away. I don't think it's going to be like NFTs. I don't see this one going away because even though I think a lot of people don't like it, I think it's just going to keep developing, unfortunately.
There's too much money to be made.
Yep.
Is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much money to be made off of removing human labor from the equation.
Yes, sir.
Capitalism! Yippee!
It's true.
Anyway, on that fun note, does anyone have anything else to say before we pivot?
I mean, I don't know. Other than like, you know, I'm also trying to branch out creatively a little bit.
How about you branch
Trying
out
to
some
learn.
bitches on your dick? And how
I'm
about
not
we
gonna
branch
do
out
that.
to the Streamer Awards? Oh my God, we're
Oh
talking
my
about the
God.
Streamer Awards.
Cosmic, talk about something.
We're not
please.
going to
Change the
actually talk
subject,
about the
Cosmic.
Streamer Awards.
thank God.
I'm just bringing up the one specific award that Jax loves to death, to the moon
Green
and back.
Suiji has not done
Green
it again.
Suiji has not done it again. I'm just curious, what do you all think about the Speedrun Award at the Streamer Awards? I just want to know what your guys' opinions are on it. Because you all are speedrunners.
I don't
and
really
feel
care.
Like,
I don't know any of those
It's a type of-
people.
okay,
they can walk
I'll
down
go-
the street and I wouldn't know
I'm
who
not
they
talking
are.
to you, Cole. I'm talking to the other two.
This
that
is-
actually-
this is almost
I referred to the
exclusively a Jaxler
speedrunners
question.
in the call.
Damn, okay. We're gatekeeping speedrunning now, which
We
I think
are.
is, but it's like, no. But I feel like this is an award that, like, this to me feels like another Fast 50 situation where it's not really, it was never really about necessarily like our corner or like the bigger, broader speedrunning community. It's about speedrunning content creators. And I think, you know, part of it for me is just like, I don't know. It's just like, so for context, Squeaks, is that how you say his name? Squeaks?
Squeaksy.
He was the one who won the
Squeaksy
award.
Boo.
And, you know, congratulations to him. Because, I'm sure he works really hard on his, content stuff. But it's like, I would, in terms of like speedrunning content, it's like, as you make like, kind of content that kind of hits to the high caliber that stuff for like the Streamer Awards would look at, it kind of veers away from like the essence of like the speedrunning community in some ways.
What do you mean by that?
Like stuff like, challenge runs or like, I don't know. Like this might again be one of Jaxler's purely emotional arguments that has no basis in reality. But like there's a big difference between like what like gets people interested in speedrunning and what gets people to click on a video, if that makes sense. I think this kind of all just goes back to some things I've talked about with, and I might just be completely off base here, and that's okay. I'm fair to be wrong, but it's just like, part of me would want to see someone like who makes like really interesting content about speedrunning.
Oh, like summoning salt?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big summoning salt guy, but a lot of people appreciate what he does.
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay.
And
I was trying to bait you, I'm
no, well, the
didn't
thing of
work.
it is
Darn.
it's a streamer award and not a content creator award. So that's probably why I'm a little off base. It's just it's hard because the types of speedrunners that I look up to will probably never be in a position to be in that lane unless A, they get world record in everything in Mario 64, or
And even then, they don't win.
they shape the way that they stream to they make the message fit the medium, for lack of a better term, right? So it's like, and I'm not saying I wish everyone was entertained by people just grinding PP attempts on stream.
Basically, kind of like sum it into like a sentence, you're basically saying that like the speedrun creators that will be nominated / have been nominated are speedrun creators that are creators that speedrun, but they do other things, right? They don't only speedrun, right? And that's your like friction with it, basically.
A little bit, yeah. Or it's one thing, like I don't want to put creators in that box where it's like if you have speedrunning, it has to be done this way. I just feel like it's not really pushed in interesting ways, or it's like like there's not a spin put on it. Like it's like speedrunners of these popular games. Like we had Suigi and Squeaks who do Mario 64. Trackmania is a huge game. Virtual, for example. Little Aggie doing Little Aggie was honestly probably the person I wanted to win it the most, because he does the most interesting things with speedrunning in terms of the way he approaches it. Like he does full game runs, but he also does stuff like bingo and like challenge run, randomize, all sorts of different types of ways to like engage. It's still engaging the same core audience, but he's experimenting with it and trying to push it forward, right? And maybe I'm just not familiar with like Squeaks' game or some of these under the content creators, but like I don't know.
I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game.
You're with your game. But I don't know. The other thing too is I'm not as emotionally attached to this, because I don't think the award should matter to people like me, because it's not really about our part of the community. It's about a different aspect of like, not even necessarily just the speedrunning community, but like people who stream and make content and stuff like that. So it's like,
interesting.
Is it really worth getting in a tizzy over it when it's like, because it's an industry award, and it's also like, an industry is different than a community award. It'd be a lot different if like there was like some sort of like speedrunning awards sort of thing, and all the names looked like that, where it was like something that was community driven. Because like these kinds of awards aren't necessarily speedrunning community driven. It's more like streaming industry driven. And so they're going to have a different perspective on that than we are.
Well,
So
it's also
like,
just, it's fan driven as well.
It's also fan driven. That's
the primary thing, is that it's fan driven, and typically the people with the most viewers are not the people being turbo sweaty and grinding out a game, because they're probably not talking. Or
they're not maybe the people taking things in the most interesting direction. Like, for example, someone who I really look up to is Ricky, or the Rixer, who does
Ricky Rubio,
amazing work on you. What's up?
Nothing. I'm just fucking yapping.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but like he does amazing videos on like PlayStation speedrunning. He's like finishing up this like 9-part series on Jak 3 and like the history of that game. It's like this crazy ass documentary series that's like unbelievably put together. He's an amazing editor, a great streamer too, and he like puts on a lot of different stuff. He helps run this like PlayStation like blind race speedrunning community event that goes on like every week. It's been going on for almost a year now. Like, but like stuff like that really builds community. Like the stuff I would want to celebrate isn't something that's going to be celebrated by an award like this, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. Do
I don't
you
know.
have anything
Like,
to say,
I feel
Cosmic?
like, yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if Cosmic agrees or disagrees with that, but
I mean, I mostly see awards like this in the same way that I see like big charity events, in that like, although charity events like GDQ or ESA are what popularized speedrunning, I feel like they're quite different from speedrunning in general. Like the public facing version of speedrunning and speedrun content is different than just going to somebody's stream and watching them speedrun. So I feel like there's enough disconnect there, really, where I just go, okay, like, I mean, it's the same thing where like the game of the year, for example, for me is like, there's just a huge disconnect. It's an industry thing. It's like, it's not addressing the grassroots nature of the scene. It's sort of like how when they put up like Sifu in best fighting game.
it's like, what?
Yeah, there's just like, I just go, okay, like, I don't really care. That's really a lot of it is just apathy for me.
Because what are you going to, like, what are you really going to, because that's energy you could be putting into something else.
Yeah, it's mostly just like apathy, because it's like, it is really a popularity contest. And I've long accepted that, like, the merits of something are only half of the battle for an award. So,
yeah, I think reward shows are stupid.
I'm sure you're very fun at parties.
I like them. I think they're fun.
You said it.
The streamer awards are my Super Bowl, bro. I block off my year.
That's your Roman Empire, bro. That's your Roman Empire.
It is. It is.
You had
my third most streamer.
You had your day mapped down to the minute when you were watching that shit.
Yeah, this guy was literally popping in and out of a VC we were in
He had it all
while
on
I
Google
was
Calendar.
getting like the Soul Reaver record, mind you.
It's true.
This first sub-hour run.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, was
That's
that
right.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
There's literally parts of this the Soul Reaver world record now where it's not Cole and I talking about Star Wars anymore. It's Nestani going, okay, bye. And then he just leaves the call to go watch the streamer.
I'm
awards.
4-2 for my predictions.
I'm 4-2.
There's even times where you
5-1 for my version, and it's like,
where
what
you
the
don't
fuck is
even
this man
bother to
talking about?
You don't even bother to say bye. You're just like, guys, I'm
You wouldn't
4-2.
you wouldn't
You're
even,
like-
no.
you'd
You wouldn't
be
even
like-
tell us the category.
No.
You
Yeah,
got the
yeah.
thing. You wouldn't even
It's
give us
true,
any
yeah.
info. You would just say,
Well, it's
okay,
'cause
here's the
you don't care
updated
about
score
all
sheet.
that. You only care about the score sheet. I'm giving you the content that you don't even care
he's
about,
right.
but
That's
you
fair.
would be closest
Yeah.
to care about, which is how many do I get correct? Because you don't give a fuck about the streamer awards, bro. I know my audience.
My favorite was when you came into the call and went, so I'm 4-2, but in the fake scores I'm 5-1, and then you just dipped. Like you just dipped
you have two
immediately.
guesses,
I was like, I just sat there like,
What is that?
What does that mean?
like I even had a vague idea of what you were talking about, but I was just like,
Well, it's because like I wrote down a
alright.
list like literally like 3 minutes before the streamer awards started. I just decided to write down a list and guess who was going to win every single award and see how many I got right. Which, by the way, I got 14 out of 11 real, and that's above 50%. And I'm kind of the GOAT. But when I say that, the fake list is basically like, I'm predicting someone's going to win it on the real list, but on my fake list, I'm like, I personally think this person's going to win, right? But like, sometimes I was metagaming for like who was actually going to. Anyway, that's the fake list.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was
list,
prepared to have more to say about the streamer awards, depending on your guys' answers to my first question, because I definitely was prodding for something there. But we don't have to go there. I think that's fine because I think at large,
I find myself
the
I find myself enough at odds with speedrun content as it is for me to be like,
Yeah.
I don't really care. I mean, it's like
yeah. I think that's
There
fine.
That's
is
why I'm
more-
trying to be a part of the solution and not the problem.
there
you know?
is
I can just
more
complain
money
about it, or
to
I
be
can make my own
made
shit.
in talking about speedruns than there is doing them, and that's sort of where the friction comes.
That's where the
for
friction
me.
is for us.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
start doing some react streams to other people's world records, guys.
Yep.
I'm gonna go through all of Jax's world records on my stream. Come tap it.
See, I mean, if it comes
Get
to a
your
game
bag
that
up,
you,
bro.
if it comes to a
Get your
game
bag
that
up,
somebody
man.
knows, right? When it comes to that sort of thing, like if I've done sections of my stream where I sit down and I talk, or I sat down and I talked about somebody's Bloody Palace run in a Devil May Cry game, and Bloody Palace is basically just like wave after wave, floor after floor of enemies, and I would break down like what they did and why on these certain enemies, like, oh, this enemy, can get stunned by this thing or whatever. They picked up this arm because they're going to use it for this floor, blah, blah, blah. There's been times where I've react Andy'd because I forgot a strat that they did and I was like, oh, that shit was fucking sick, or whatever. But it's a game that I know, so I can actually talk about what makes the run so clean on top of people just seeing, okay, this looks pretty good.
Which,
but
me
if I were to
personally, think
boot
is
up,
fine because, for example, I watch Simply, and I have watched every world record in Mario. I have never watched without Simply reacting to it. Just, I'll be so for real. I've never.
But it's
watched
also a game
any
that
of
he
the world
knows,
records
right?
stand alone. Yeah, and he's funny, and I like Mario 64, but I don't like it enough to go watch a whole ass run for like no reason.
Yeah.
especially for someone that like I don't watch. Like I don't really watch Green Suiji. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Like even if Ouija got a record, I'm probably not going to watch it because guess what? When Ouija's on record pace, he doesn't really talk that much. He don't talk. Yeah. Honestly, when most people are on record pace, they don't talk that much because they're on record pace and one of the most optimized speed games, right? So it's just like,
I feel like I'm the one exception to that rule where I can kind of be like talking through my mentality a little bit while I'm doing that. But that's like,
see, we're kind of cut from the same cloth in that regard because you're just doing the talking. I just say, oh, I'm going to shut up. And then I continue talking like right after that, you know, I mean, like I'll be like, hey guys, I'm probably not going to talk for the next like 5-10 minutes. And then I'll just keep talking. Yeah, I just keep going. Cosmic to me.
I mean, literally my Lunasis record, I was yapping the whole time. I think me and Cole were talking about like the new Peach game or like the Daisy game or something. Like we were talking about something the whole time. At that point, yeah, we were just yapping the whole time, and then I just randomly got to 59 after I paused mid run. Former world record though, don't have it anymore. Shouts to Will. But yeah, I think it's a good place to wrap this episode, though. I won't go on the Streamer Awards tangent that I have because these people have brains, so I don't need to go on the tangent, and that's just kind of how it goes.
Yippee! That's like the nicest thing you said about me all day.
Well, hey, you know, sometimes... Anyway, does anyone have anything to shout out before we quickly wrap?
Cole, didn't you just put out a video, or am I crazy?
I put that in the description of the last video.
Last week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
But you can still go watch it. It's about Spiral. Spyro, not Spiral.
Spyro.
Yeah, Spyro, yeah.
Spyro. It's just me playing
Spyro. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to have anything to post on YouTube. I mean, I got the record in Van Helsing down to like a 30-minute when it was at like a 33 a few weeks ago. I might actually be going for sub 30. Are you guys practicing for your thumbnails when you react to my Van Helsing?
We don't need to practice for the thumbnails.
You know that like one
game of fucking thumbnails, bro. Who's thumbnailing right now? Jesus Christ.
We can't keep getting away with it.
Yeah, but I mean, I might do something. I might try and go for like sub 30. It'll be difficult, I think, but we'll see. So that's really about all I have, honestly.
Keep an eye out, ladies.
Yeah. For me, the remaster for Soul Reaver 1 and 2 just came out, so I'm probably going to be streaming those this week.
Oh.
And I'm also kind of working on a YouTube video in the background, so I'm literally just saying that on the pod,
That's
so
exciting.
I will it into existence. I won't spoil what it is about yet, so that I don't give myself all the dopamine hit right now, because then I won't finish it. So
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're me, if you just said that, you would just not finish it, which is why I'm not going to say anything that I'm doing. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good week.
goodbye forever. Hey, go away.
Go away.
And subscribe, please. Don't go yet. Hit the bell. Hit the thing, please.